Ladies and gentlemen, it's 1:07. You know what that means? That means it's a time for Inside Georgia Real Estate, ladies and gentlemen, with Deborah Morton. She's the owner and broker of the Agency Atlanta. Let me get my swag on. Let me get my hat on,
Put that hat on, Shelley.
I got my agency hat. I've been waiting for this hat for how long? Couple months now.
Yeah, if y'all never sign in online, you got to take a look at Shelley today.
So Deborah, let's start our conversation. We were talking off air, talking about what we were going to talk about. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, 448-722-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK. You were talking about a story, what's going on in Cherokee County, affordable housing in Cherokee County.
Yes, I'm working on a project to bring an affordable housing project in Cherokee County. And it was an interesting week because affordable housing is hard, y'all. That's why. Interest rates are what they are.
Let's do this.
Right.
First of all, before we go to that, define what affordable, because people say affordable housing all the time. It's like a catch-all phrase. So define what affordable housing really is.
Well, I think what's important for people to understand is that the age of first-time home buyers nationally has escalated to 40 years old. And the first-time buyer segment of buyers out there, we have growing inventory. It's a pretty flat market. It's a good time for buyers to get into the market. But we're not seeing first-time buyers enter the market like they normally would. Right. In fact, it's less than 20% of the buyers out there are first-time buyers. So we have resale buyers. We're seeing more cash buyers than ever before. And that makes sense because people with cash are not impacted by higher mortgage rates. So my research this week, first-time buyers is how young people grow their net worth. Historically speaking, for a family legacy to change, home ownership is involved. So, my parents bought a home, their parents before that, maybe their grandparents were renters. When people buy homes, it starts the legacy of net worth, of family stability, and they just become wealthier. Life is better. Likewise, on the other end of the spectrum, we have generational renters who never own anything, and they tend to, though they work hard, they don't contribute to society at such a greater scale because they never accumulate the net worth that homeownership brings to people. Right. So as a realtor, homeownership matters. It's not just realtors trying to make money selling houses. I have and all of the good ones out there are committed to growing homeownership for people because it's the right thing to do. And it is part of what makes America great. It is one of the fundamental differences in our country than countries around the world, is that homeownership is available to everyone. So what we're experiencing right now is a little bit challenging because the first-time buyer market is not able to enter, and it's not just mortgage rate. So historically speaking, a 6% mortgage interest rate is not awful. So this week I dove in okay, if we're looking at 6 to 6.4, it's going to fluctuate. Right. If rates go below 6, that's wonderful. It'll help a lot of people. But how do we put people into houses and make a difference in people's lives in spite of the fact that it is what it is? So the big variable that I'm facing right now in trying to put this package together is it's not just the mortgage rates, because that's what your principal and your interest does. You take a loan for, let's say $350,000 is the purchase price. You're going to put 3 to 5% down. So they have to have their down payment. Right. So that includes the principal and the interest. But the variable factor that is throwing things out of whack for a large segment of the public is taxes are higher than ever before. That's
property taxes.
Property taxes, which are calculated into the monthly payment. It is collected by the mortgage company and paid and held in escrow and then paid once a year when the property bills come out. So taxes are higher than ever. Homeowners insurance is crazy. Y'all.
Now, who do you pay in homeowners insurance to? Like a Geico or whatever?
Yeah, like State Farm, Allstate. Like there's,
you bundle it,
yes,
save, right?
Liberty Mutual. They're all out there, and And overall, I mean, and we can shop. It's not something that people are stuck with one company or another. But overall, homeowners insurance has increased a lot. I don't know the percentage number, and there's probably an insurance agent out there listening that could help with this conversation.
Why I get why in a place like Florida or places like that. Why Georgia?
Well, in Georgia, we had a lot of storms and damages, last year in South Georgia that were devastating to many, many communities. And, through the Rotary Club, I was able to help with when that happened. So I have like firsthand knowledge, and I put my eyes on how devastating that was. But is that the only reason homeowners insurance is going up? I know in the Georgia legislative session, there's a bill, there's conversation about some of the problems with homeowners insurance. One of the things is not allowing them to send drones over to preview houses without homeowners' knowledge. That's some sketchy weirdness.
Right.
So anyway, pricing on homeowners insurance. So we have taxes, we have insurance, and then we have homeowners association costs have gone up as well. Now, homeowners associations are impacted by insurance as well because they're required to have insurance over the community.
Right.
So that, in addition to fees, junk fees, and just regular maintenance costs. So this is where inflation has hit everywhere, and it's a little hidden. People don't realize it.
Right. And so you put your 6 to 7% down,
or less.
Like
if most people who are buying, if it's their first or second home and they haven't turned over 3 or 4 homes, because after your third home, you have accumulated enough equity that you're not having this conversation anymore. So somebody who has been in their home a long time, they have a lot of equity, they go to buy their next home. This conversation we're having right now doesn't apply. And good for you. And the other thing in doing this research I found out is that the average age of, most people used to stay in their home 5 to 7 years. It's up to 11 years. And this is part of the lock-in effect we're seeing because people are saying, this doesn't make sense. The math doesn't math.
Right.
So I'm going to stay put. So this group of people who are impacted by taxes, insurance, homeowners association, and they're not putting 20% down. So they also have to pay PMI, which is mortgage insurance, until they get to having 20% equity in their home. Their mortgage provider requires that they keep insurance on the loan in case they default.
Gotcha.
So I'm seeing a couple of places where insurance is a lot, and it's impacting it. Is PMI important? Of course it is. We knew from 2007 and 8, I mean, that was a rough time, but maybe there's places where, God, if it were a little bit different, we could have some impact into affordability. So this is like pulling back the curtain on how my week was.
So you bring up some important points because most people that are listening to us now, they're thinking, okay, I've got to come up with a mortgage, down payment, I move into my home.
Right.
But everything
remember last week we were talking about contract fallouts.
Right.
And with so many contracts terminating, my job is to figure out, how do we have less contracts terminate? Because we have buyers who are excited. They want to go buy a house, and the seller wants to sell their house.
Right.
And my job's to bring it all together and make it happen. So buyers are going and they're getting a pre-qualification, or they do an online calculator to see what they can afford. And they know what their monthly budget will allow. And they think, this is great, I can do it. But then they get under contract and they get deeper into the process. And then we're calculating the taxes and the HOA, all of these other things that are not visible from the surface. And this is part of what a professional real estate agent is supposed to help their buyers with, like how to calculate all of this and help them find homes that are under their budget. Wouldn't it be great if you could buy a house and still have a life outside of, you don't want to, people use the term house poor, where all they can do, they're just working to pay for their house.
Right.
I never want somebody positioned like that. So this project in Cherokee County, it's near Woodstock, and I'm trying to help the owner put together something that will actually work, because his heart and his goal is to turn renters into homeowners, and he's in a position to do this, but we are just bumping up against wall after like obstacles,
right?
That so
the obstacle, not of the property being
no,
turned,
the
but
houses are great,
right,
the homes are great.
Right,
it's the financing that's the tough part.
404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. Those are the numbers to call with all of your real estate questions for Deborah Morton. She's the owner, broker of the Agency Atlanta. Again, those numbers are 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. We will be right back.